They told you it was entertainment. That thousands packed into the Coliseum to watch gladiators fight for honour and glory. That it was sport. That it was Roman civilization at its peak. But let's break that script. What kind of civilization builds a monument to death? Why were the shows free? Why did the slaughter go on for 400 years? And why does no one ask what the Colosseum was built on? Because beneath the arena, they didn't just find animal cages and trapdoors. They found tunnels, chambers, and energy channels built directly into the earth. And the more you look, the more it starts to feel less like a stadium and more like a temple. But not a temple to the gods you were told about. The temple for something else. They called it entertainment, but what they built was a ritual engine. Thousands gathered not just to watch, but to participate in the spectacle. Men forced into battle, children thrown into the ring, wild beasts turned loose on the vulnerable, all of it observed. And that's the key, isn't it? The watching, the witnessing, the agreement. Because emotion releases energy, fear, grief, panic. And when it's amplified by thousands, it doesn't just disappear. It moves, it channels, it feeds. The Colosseum wasn't just stone and seats. It was built on lines of energy, aligned to frequencies they understood far better than we're told. And deep below the arena floor, it didn't echo like rock. It hummed, as if something underneath was being powered by everything happening above. Rome didn't build an empire by strength alone. It built it through erasure. And in the Colosseum, the erasure was ritualized. We've been taught the gladiators were all criminals and slaves, but scrolls from the early empire whisper of something else. Beings brought in chains who stood over 8 feet tall. Not warriors, not soldiers, giants. Captured from the outer provinces, from mountains, islands, and desert ruins. They were paraded, displayed, and ultimately thrown into the arena, not for sport, but for symbolic annihilation. Because some say these giants carried original knowledge of the Earth's true shape, of ancient energy, and of civilizations that predated Rome by thousands of years. So what did the empire do? It turned their extinction into entertainment. Bloodlines erased, legacies burned, memories rewritten until they were nothing but myth. And the crowd cheered, because when you turn truth into spectacle, no one questions the script. They say the Colosseum had underground chambers, holding cells, mechanical lifts. But what if it was more than that? What if those tunnels were part of a hidden network? A web of caverns that ran beneath ancient Rome and connected to older sites long before the empire ever existed? We're talking pre-Roman, prehistory. Whispers speak of a chamber sealed beneath the arena floor, a vault lined in a stone not native to Italy, a place the public was never meant to see. And when the Vatican took control of that site in the 1500s, the digs stopped. Records vanished, access was closed. But why? Because it wasn't just the energy from the crowds they were feeding, it was what lay beneath that received. Some say a throne was hidden down there, some say a machine, some say it's where the gate was first opened. And every scream, every drop, every ritual up above wasn't for the people, it was for the things sleeping underneath. What if Rome wasn't the builder of civilization, but the jailer of something older? Think about it. Every major city built on sacred ground. Obelisks, domes, arches, all ancient symbols. Blood rituals turned into public theatre. And all roads leading back to Rome. But maybe those roads were containment lines. Maybe the Colosseum wasn't a monument to human power, but a seal, a gatekeeper, a frequency anchor. Because what they conquered wasn't just land. It was legacy, it was knowledge, it was power. And to keep that power hidden, they built an empire around it. They rewrote the scripts, they turned temples into churches. They called the old gods myths and the true builders savages. And we inherited the prison, not the truth. Let's talk about the digs they don't put in textbooks. Beneath Rome, they've found rooms sealed in lead, untouched by time, tools made of unknown alloys, impossible to replicate, and carvings, not in Latin, but in languages that predate any known European script. Whistleblowers from Vatican-linked excavations describe what looked like giant stone circuitry, conduits, cores, structures that hum when certain frequencies hit them. One even claimed to witness a reactivation during a lightning storm, a brief pulse of light from a room no one could enter. And then the whole site was filled with concrete, permanently sealed. The workers silenced. Why? Because this wasn't Roman tech, it was pre-Roman, pre-human, possibly pre-time. This wasn't the birth of civilization. It was the burial of something older. And Rome didn't build on it by accident. They chose this place to guard it, to hide it, to feed it. They say the sun gives life. But there's a second sun, hidden, ancient, inverted. the Black Sun, a symbol buried deep in esoteric Rome, not painted, etched, carved, protected. This wasn't just a cult, it was the core of the empire. The elite priesthood, Saturnian keepers, worshipped not the light, but the force that feeds off its absence. The Coliseum, a sigil, a ring, a generator of mass suffering ritualized to channel the frequency of fear. Every drop of pain became a note in their hymn, and at the center of it all, an altar beneath the arena aligned with the Saturn gate, a place said to open only when the world sings in sorrow. Now ask yourself, why is Saturn at the root of so many symbols? The rings, the cube, the black robes, the holiest of days tied to Saturn's day? Because Rome didn't fall, it shifted. It became the foundation of the modern world. Rome fell, right? That's what they tell you. But it didn't fall, it morphed. The emperors traded togas for robes, the temples became cathedrals, the priests became popes, and the blood rituals, they just moved indoors. The Vatican now sits at the heart of Rome, a sovereign city-state, surrounded by ancient symbols, obelisks, domes, thrones. Why does every major religious power structure mirror the exact layout of Rome? Why do modern nations still build their capitals around obelisks and arches? London, DC, Paris, even the UN headquarters follows the same grid. Because the ritual never stopped, it just evolved. Instead of arenas, we have stadiums. Instead of spectacles, we have screens. Instead of sacrifice, we have exhaustion, division, distraction. But the energy is still harvested, still fed, still looped back through the network they built over the bones of the old gods. You think the empire died? Then why does the Pope wear a crown? Why do politicians kneel before him? Why are the keys of Rome still engraved into the center of global power? Because Rome didn't fall, it changed costume. It became religion, then it became banking, then it became the algorithm. The Colosseum was a prototype, a model of how to control a population through spectacle. Keep them distracted, keep them divided, keep them cheering while the real rituals happen beneath the floor. And now, the floor is digital, the games are everywhere, and the new emperor doesn't even bleed. It watches, it learns, it writes the scripts now. And it never needs to conquer because we feed it willingly. But here's the twist. The system only works when you don't see it. And now you see it. You see the cage, you see the throne, you see the spell. Which means you're outside of it. If you think the arena is gone, look around. It's in your stadiums, your screens, your feeds, your feedback loops. Where emotion is currency, where outrage is monetized, where every tragedy becomes a trend and your energy becomes the show. You don't need lions anymore. You've got algorithms. You've got manufactured conflict. You've got filters over fear and games with no winners. And guess what? You're still being watched, still being scored, still being tested. Only now you pay for the ticket and call it connection. But here's what they fear. That the crowd will stop clapping, that the fools will stop playing, that the ones who remember will rise from the stands and walk off the grid. Because when you leave the arena, the empire has no power. Not over your mind, not over your energy, not over your soul. They told you Rome fell, but you can feel it, can't you, that it's still here. In the laws, the temples, the thrones, in the fear they sell as order. But now you've seen the grid, now you know how the arena was powered. Not with weapons, but with belief. And when you break belief, you break the spell. This is your exit point, not from history, but from the script. You were never meant to cheer from the stands. You were meant to remember, to decode, to rise, because the real empire doesn't want your rebellion. It fears your awakening. And now that you see through the arena's veil, you don't belong to it anymore. You belong to yourself.